Welcome to this predicted paper from On Maths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our On Maths site. On Maths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribe. So we need to first of all understand what a cube number is. So a cube number is the answer to when you get three integers or whole numbers and we multiply them by themselves three times. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, and 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 1, 8, 27, 64, 125 are all cube numbers, and it goes on forever. And this question's asked us to find all the odd, or an odd, cube number that is smaller than 100. So it has to be odd, so that gets rid of the 8 and the 64. And it has to be smaller than 100, so that gets rid of the 125. So I can either write down 1 would be a fine answer, or 27. I'm going to go for 1. If there were 39 people on the bus and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. And we can't cancel that any further. Multiples are times tables, so the multiples of 2 are the times table of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc, etc. So the only number in this list that is in the 2 times table is the 6. If I split this shape into 2 sets of 6 blocks, when we're asked to shade in 3/6, for each one of those, or each set of blocks, I'm going to shade in 3 of the 6. So that's 3 for the first set, and this is 3 for the second set. And that's our answer. Now you might notice that 3 over 6 is the same as a half, because we can divide on 1 by 3, and so all I need to do is shade in a half. Or you might convert 3 over 6 into 6 over 12, and there's 12 squares altogether, so it's 6 of the 12 squares. There's lots of ways of doing this question. So we can draw out our place value grid to help us out with this question. We've got thousands, hundreds, tens and units. So we'll need another one there. So thousands go here, hundreds here, tens here, and then units here. So this says 2000. So a 2 will go in the thousands column, 30, so that'll be a 3 there, and 2. So we need to fill in a 0 here to keep that 2 as 2000, otherwise that would collapse and it would become 232. So the answer is 2032. I'm going to start just by copying out the question. So we've got x over 12 equals 4, and when we're asked to solve, it means we need to find out what x is. We need x equals, and the method for doing it is just by putting lines either side of the equal sign, our solving lines, and what we need to do is we need to get x on its own on the left hand side. What's stopping x from being on its own? This over 12. What does over 12 mean? Well, it means divide by 12. So how do we get rid of it? Well, we do the opposite, the inverse of divided by 12. What is the opposite of divide by 12? Times 12. Now these lines show us that whatever we do on the left hand side we have to do on the right hand side. So we have to times 12 both sides. So on the left hand side we're left with x. On the right hand side we do 4 times 12, which is 48. So our solution is x equals 48. If we write in how many sides each shape has, triangle has 3, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, hexagon 6, you'll notice the number of vertices is twice the amount of each of them. So if a shape has 15 sides, we just times that by 2 and it will have 30 vertices. To find the mean, we need to find the sum of the numbers and then we need to divide that by the amount of the numbers. Sum is just a fancy way of saying add up the numbers. So we're going to do the 3 plus the 8 plus the 10 plus the 2 plus the 8 plus the 12. And we're going to divide that all by how many numbers there are. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. When you add those numbers up, you get 43. And then when you do 43 divided by 6, you get 7.166 blah blah blah. Now the question says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so we're just going to round that to 7.17. So we're told the sequence starts at 20, so our first term will be 20, and we're told that the rule is add 5, so we're going to add 5 to that, and that'll be 25 for our second term, add 5 again, and that'll be 30 for our third term. To answer this question, we basically need to find the lowest common multiple of the 10 minutes here and the 15 minutes here. So we're going to start off just by doing the 10 and 15 times table. So it'd be 10, 20, 30, and 15 times table with 15 and 30. So the lowest common multiple is 30. So after half an hour, these buses will sync up. They'll both leave at the same time. And all buses start service at 9 o'clock. So it will be half an hour after 9 o'clock, which will be 9:30. Let's rewrite this expression, but with a time sign in. So v times w squared. Now w squared just means times by itself. So we can rewrite that as v times w times w. Okay, so we know v is minus 10. So minus 10. And we know w is minus 4, so it's times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so when you multiply, it doesn't matter which order we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these ones first, and I'm going to ignore that times minus 4 at the end. So minus 10 times minus 4, that's a minus times a minus, which is a positive, 10 times 4, which is 40, times minus 4. Now we're going to do 40 times minus 4, so it's a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And 40 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, so 40 times 4 is 160. So it's going to be minus 160. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012, so we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100. Which give us 1.015, and then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier, and when we do that we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. You will need to use a paper and pencil to do this physically. You can't really do this on the computer. And make sure you have a ruler and a compass. So the first thing we're going to do is draw our 10 centimeter line. And we're going to get our compass and we're going to measure the 6 centimeters for the left hand side. So we're going to measure 6 centimeters on our compass. And we're going to just put a little arc there. Can do the same on the other side for 8 centimeters. So we're going to do our 8 centimeter arc from the right hand side, and we're going to put the point of the compass here. And it should be like that. And you can see where the two arcs overlap, which is here, and we can join these up with straight lines. And it says to measure the angle X, so we're going to need a protractor for this bit. I'm going to put our protractor here with the crosshairs matching here. So we're going to be looking at the inside, the outside one, and it comes up as 37 degrees. So our answer is 37 degrees. So with a stem leaf diagram, the numbers in the middle often represent tens. They could be units. So we look at the key first of all, and we see that 3 line 9 means 93. So the numbers in the middle are going to represent 10. So this is a 90. Now we're looking for English, so this will be 92. So our first number will be 92. Then this will be 10 tens and a 4. So it would be 104. 11 tens and 1, so 111, and then 11 tens and 2. So to find the median, we go cross out the biggest and smallest until we're left with 1 or 2 in the middle. Here we're left with 2. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add the 104 to the 111, and we're just going to divide that by 2. So when we do that, we get 107.5 or 0.5. So our answer is 107.5. So we're going to start by doing a circle at minus 13 and a circle at minus 6. And x is between those values, so we're just going to join them up with a line. Probably move my circle down a little bit. Okay, the next thing to do is figure out which of these dots are going to be filled in. So if it can equal that number, it gets filled in. So it can equal minus 13, so I'm going to fill that in. But for minus 6, it can't equal that, so it becomes a hollow dot. To find the midpoint, we can use this simple formula. And we're going to start off by finding the midpoint for the x component. And the formula is just adding the two x coordinates and dividing by 2. So we're just going to add the two x coordinates together. So we've got 2 plus minus 1 divided by 2. And that's going to be 1/2 or 0.5. Could do the same thing for the y coordinates, and the formula is the same, but just with adding the y coordinates together and dividing by 2. So it's going to be -5 plus 2. All of that divided by 2. So that's going to be -3 over 2, or -1.5. So to simplify 10 to 22 to 26, I'm going to have to find something that I can divide the 10, the 22 and the 26 by. The biggest number I can do that for is 2. So if you look, 10 can be divided by 5 but nothing else can, 22 can be divided by 11 but nothing else can, and 26 by 13 but nothing else can. The only thing we can divide all of them by is 2. So that will be 5 to 11 to 13. So the answer is 5 to 11 to 13. Bearings are always from north and go clockwise. So let's have a look at where the north line is. Well, the north line is here. And to find the bearing of B from A, so that means we're at A and we're looking at the angle of B, we're going to go clockwise. and you can see on the diagram it's already labelled as 42 degrees. But the third rule of bearings is they must be 3 digits. So instead of 42, it's going to be 0, 4, 2. So whenever we have a scatter graph, chances are we'll be drawing a line of best fit. And so that's what we'll start off with, draw a line of best fit in. And it says we're looking for a height of the box, or an estimate of the height of the box with the width of 17. So 17 is here. So the width of 17 will be a line across, let's try and get this just right, line across there. And what we do is we draw a line down when it hits the line of best fit. Now looking at the scale here, this seems to be going up in 2s. And so this line here would be at 3. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether. So oil has 21 parts, vinegar has 5, so altogether there's 21 plus 5, which is 26 parts. Now, how many of those parts are vinegar? Well, vinegar is the second one, so it's going to be this 5. So vinegar has 5 out of the 26 parts, or a fraction would be 5 over 26. Okay, first of all, we need to work out what the interior angles would add up to. So the sum of the interior angles is equal to n minus 2 times 180. Now n is the amount of sides, but it says it has 5 sides, so it would be 5 take away 2, which is 3, and then times 180, which would be 540. So we know it will add up to 540. So all we need to do is get that 540 and take away all the angles that we know. So the 118, the 84, the 108, and the 151. And when you do that, you get the answer of 79. To work out the mean, what we need to do is work out the sum of the numbers, basically add them all up, and divide that by the amount of numbers. Now, when we're giving the numbers in a frequency table, it's a little bit more tricky to find the sum of the numbers and the amount of the numbers, but there are some really strong techniques. The first thing I want to just highlight is that a frequency table is just saying that there are 5 lots of 4. So we can imagine writing out 5 lots of 4. Okay, and then there are 10 lots of 5. So you can imagine writing 10 lots of 5. I'm not going to, but that's all a frequency table is saying. Okay, so how do we work out what the numbers will add up to? Well, let's look at those 4s. How many 4s are there? Well, there's 5 of them. And what are 5 4s? Well, to work that out, we just times them. 5 4s are 20. So we create this FS column, S for sweets. Okay, and what that's telling us is all of those 4 sweets added together are 20. If we keep going through this, there are 10 lots of 5, well that just makes 50. 5 lots of 6, which is 30. 8 lots of 7, which is 56. And then 2 lots of 8, which is 16. Now, altogether, what do they add up to? Well, we know these add up to 20, these add up to 50, these add up to 30, etc., etc. But altogether, they're going to add up to whatever this column adds up to. And we can show that as a kind of sigma fs. And we just add up the 20, 50, 30, 56, 16. So we add up that column, which is going to be 172. So we know the top is 172. Now the second part is to work out how many numbers there are. Well, there are 5 numbers in the first column, 10 in the second column, 5 in the next row, I should say, 8 in the next row, and then 2 in the next row. So to work out how many there are in total, we just add those up, and we call that the sum of F column. And we do 5 plus 10 plus 5 plus 8 plus 2, add those together, which is 30. So all we need to do to work out the mean is 172 divided by 30, which is going to be 5.733 blah blah blah. It wants its 2 decimal places, So what we're going to do is just round that to 5.73. The formula for the area of a trapezium is half a plus b times h. Now a and b are the lengths of the bases of the trapezium. Now it's easy to find the bases because they are the ones that are parallel. It doesn't actually matter which way round we label these, so I'm always going to put A on the left and B on the right, or I always put A on the top and B at the bottom, but it doesn't matter which way around you put them. The height, which is represented by H, always hits the bases, A and B, at 90 degrees. You can see that this length here does not hit the bases at 90 degrees. This is an acute angle, this is an obtuse angle. So that is not the height. The height is going to be this one here because it hits both of the bases, A and B, at 90 degrees. So let's put these values into our formula. So half times 5.4 plus 7.6 times 2.3. So that's going to be half of 13 times 2.3, and that's going to be 6.5 times 2.3, then that would be 14.95. All the units are in centimetres, therefore the unit of the area will be in centimetres squared. So we can quickly draw a line of best fit for here, and it looks something like that. And if our line of best fit is increasing like we have here, then we say the data is positive. If, however, the line of best fit is decreasing and looks like this, we say that it's negative correlation. So positive if it's going up, which this one is, so it's a positive correlation. And if it's going down, then it's a negative correlation. If the data is all over the place, so it looks like something like this, where you've got the points everywhere, we say that's no correlation. First of all, we're going to work out what angle BCA is. And the way of working this out is it's going to be the same as what BAC is, because the angles in an isosceles, the bottom two angles in an isosceles, when it's pointed up, are equal. So this is also going to be 15x. Make sure you state the reason. So it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, so if this is also 15x, we know that angles BAC plus ACB plus ABC, so basically all three of the angles in the triangle, are going to add up to 180. So 15x plus 15x plus 30x is going to equal 180 because it's angles in a triangle. Get my lines in, my tram lines in. 15x plus 15x plus 30x, well 15 plus 15 is 30, 30 plus 30 is 60, so it's going to be 60x equals 180. Then we're going to divide both sides by 60, and we have x equals 3. So the answer will be 3. So the only way of answering this question is to work out what these are as ordinary numbers. And so 7 times 10 to the power of 7 would be 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 9 times 10 to the power of 4 would be 90,000. So that would be 9, 0, 0, 0, 0. And so we're just subtracting them like that. And so we'll get 6, 9, 9, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And obviously if this is on the calculator paper, just type it into your calculator. There are no tricks here. You can't do anything with the 7 and the 9. You're not subtracting powers or anything. You're just literally typing in what it says. And there's a button on the calculator like that that you will need to use. So if you don't know what that is, ask your teacher or ask someone to help you out with that. So we're going to start just by writing this out. So m equals 7 brackets x minus 10. And we're going to put our solving lines in. I'm going to start by expanding the brackets. And we don't need to. We could divide both sides by 7, but I think this is a bit easier. And we're going to subtract, or we're going to add 70 to both sides. So we're trying to get x as the subject. So we're trying to get x on its own. And we're next going to divide both sides by 7. So we have m plus 70, all of that over 7 equals x. So x equals m plus 70 over 7. So when we say y is directly proportional to x, what we mean is whenever x doubles, y will double. Whenever x halves, y will halve. Now we've got this proportionality sign here, and to make that an equals, all we need to do is introduce a k constant to the right hand side. So it's y equals something times x. Now to find out what that something is, to find out what that constant is, what we're going to do is feed in the value of y and the value of x that we have. So we're going to feed those in. So y is 55.3 and x is 7. So it would be 7k. And we're just going to put our lines in and solve this. So it's going to be divide by 7 both sides. And 55.3 divided by 7 is 7.9. And that's what k is. So we're going to rewrite this equation here, this formula here, y equals 7.9x. And that is actually our answer. So first thing to realise is that the formula for a volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. So what we need to do first of all is work out the volume of the water butt that James currently has. So we're going to do the volume equals pi times the radius, which is 89 squared, times the height, which is 189. And when we do that, we get 1497,069 lots of pi. And I'll keep this in terms of pi just for simplicity. Now, what we want is we want the volume to stay the same. So we're going to keep that as the volume, 1497,069 pi. But we want the radius to change. So instead of the radius being 89, we want the radius to be 103. So times 103 squared. And we're trying to work out what the height is. Okay, so first thing we can do actually is just cross off the pi's from both sides. Actually, we don't really need them at all. And then we can get our solving things in, our solving lines, and we can divide both sides by the 103 squared. And on the left hand side we get 141.113 blah blah blah, and on the right hand side we get h. So the height will be 141.113. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so that will be 141.11. We have our everything list here. Now these are all the numbers that go into our Venn diagram, and in A is all the square numbers. So we're going to have a look and see which square numbers we've got. Well, we've got 1 and we've got 4 and we've got 9 and we've got 16 are all square numbers. So in here is 1, 4, 9 and 16. And we're going to look at all the odd numbers. So we've got 3. We've got 17, we've got 1, and we've got 9. Now in both the lists we've got the 1 and 9, so that's going to go in the middle. Just the square numbers are 4 and 16, and just the odd numbers are 3 and 17. Now notice we've got the 2 and the 6 there, and those will just be on the outside. I'm going to start by expanding these brackets. You could have divided both sides by 2 and then expanded the brackets on the left, but I'm just going to expand them all because it might be maybe easier, I don't know. So we've got 2x minus 44. Get our lines in because we're solving. And the rule is that we get rid of the smaller amount of x. So we've got 2x here and 12x on the other side. So we're going to subtract the 2x from both sides. And so that'll give us 10x minus 84 is less than minus 44. So we've got minus 44 there, but that won't be a problem because we're going to add 84 to both sides. And so we've got 10x is less than 40. And then we're going to divide 10 both sides to get what x is, or what x is less than. And that would be 4. So our answer is x is less than 4. So factorise means to put it into a bracket. And it looks like it's a quadratic here, but it's actually just a linear factorising because we don't have a number term. So we're going to just use one bracket for this. And looking at these terms, I'm going to focus first on the numbers. So 20 and 30, I can divide both of those by 10, and that will leave 2 and 3. So that's the numbers done. Next I'm looking at the t terms. So we've got t squared there and a t there. So we can divide out a t, but that will leave a t on the first term. And finally I'm going to look at the u, and there's just a u on both of them I can factorise out, and actually that just leaves nothing on the inside of the bracket. Now always when you do this, expand the bracket to check if you've made any mistakes. So I'm going to do smiles and rainbows. There's loads of different methods. So 10 times 2 is 20, t times t is t squared, and then the u, plus 10 times 3 is 30, times t times u. So we know we've got the right answer. So our answer is 10tu brackets 2t plus 3. So let's look through this question to see what information we're given and what information we're looking for. So we're given the acceleration is 13 meters per second squared. We're also given the distance is 19, and we're also given the end velocity, which is v, is 34. And we're looking for the initial velocity. So which of these formulae include a, s, v and u? That's got a t in it, that's got a t in it, so it's going to be this one here. So let's write that out. V squared equals u squared plus 2as. So that would be 34 squared equals u squared, because that's what the one we're looking for, plus 2 times 13 times 19. Okay, so let's just work these parts out. And so we've got 2 times 13 times 19, which is what, 494. And it turns into a solving part, so we're just going to solve this. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 494 from both sides. And so we're left with 662 equals u squared. Then we're just going to square root both sides. And so square root of that is going to be 25.729 blah blah blah. And it says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 25.73. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angle triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle, so it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148, we've just worked that out, and we're looking for c. In fact, we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared. And we'll just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its two decimal places, so that would be 61.19. So to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. That's what we're going to do here. But whenever you have an expression representing a length or a width or anything really, you just put brackets around it. So we go u minus 2 times u plus 9. Okay, and the way we do this is with our grid. And I'm just going to draw out the grid. And so we've got u minus 2, and we're multiplying it by u plus 9. Don't want too many for some reason. And so we've got u times u, which is u squared, u times minus 2, which is minus 2u, 9 times u, which is 9u, and 9 times minus 2, which is minus 18. And what we're going to do is we're just normally going to be able to add these ones together. So our answer will be u squared, and then we're going to do 9u plus minus 2u. Well, that's just going to be 9u take away 2u, which is 7u. So plus 7u, and then minus 18 at the end. To go from meters to centimeters, we obviously times by 100. But to go from meters squared to centimeters squared, we times by 100 per dimension. Now, whenever we talk about things in meters squared, we're talking about areas which have two dimensions. So we times it by 100 squared. So when we've got a 2 meters squared here, we times by 100 squared to get it into centimeters squared. So that's going to be 20,000. Whenever we solve, we've got to get rid of any fractions or brackets first. Now, looking at this, there's no fractions, but there are two sets of brackets. We've got the set of brackets here, and we've got the set of brackets here. So we're going to expand them to get rid of them. And you can use any method you want. I'm just going to use this kind of grid method. So we're doing 4 times, and inside the brackets we've got 3x plus 5. So I'm going to times those out. 4 times 3 is 12, so that'll be 12x. 4 times 5 is 20, so that's going to be positive 20. And I'm going to do the same for the other set of brackets. Now on the outside of the brackets we've got to be careful here. It's not a 5, it's a minus 5. And inside the brackets is an x and a 2. So minus 5 times x is minus 5x. Minus 5 times 2 is minus 10. So when we put it all together, we get 12x plus 20 minus 5x minus 10. And then the rest of it is just equals 52. So I'm going to start by putting my lines in because we're solving. And I'm actually just going to start by collecting the like terms on the left hand side. So 12x take away 5x is going to be 7x. and 20 take away 10 is going to be 10. Okay, now we need to get rid of the plus 10, so we're going to take away 10 both sides. So we've got 7x equals 42, and then we need to get rid of the times 7, so we're going to divide 7 both sides. So x equals 6. To find solutions for quadratics on a graph, all you need to do is find out where the graph meets the x-axis. Okay, so the coordinates this graph meets the x-axis are here and here, and that would be minus 0.8 and 0.2, and they're also called roots. The word truncated means that we just literally cut off the next number along. So if we imagine this is our number, we just cut it off. So it's not the same as rounding. We just don't change this digit at all. We just cut off the remaining digits. So the smallest number it could be before it was cut off is 79.500000. The largest number it could have been, well, it could have been 79.5999, etc. So that's the largest it could have been. So to do our error interval, well, the smallest it could have been is 79.5, and it could have been 79.5, and we'll call this x. But we're looking at any number that is less than 79.6. So any number that's less than 79.6. If it was 79.6, then when we cut it off, it would show as 79.6. So the first thing I notice is the second equation isn't really in the normal format for doing simultaneous equations. So I'm just going to rearrange it so that we have it where we want it to be. And I'm just going to put my lines in so I can rearrange. So first thing I want is the x's and y's on the same side. In fact, actually all I need to do is take away 4y from both sides, and we get 5x minus 4y equals minus 7. Okay, so what we do now is we put both our equations down so we can solve these simultaneously. So 5x minus 4y equals minus 7, and you notice the coefficient of the y is already the same, so we don't need to multiply anything, but the signs are different, and the d in different is the d in add, so we're going to add going downwards. So we're going to add everything. So we're doing 3x plus 5x, which is 8x. 4y plus minus 4y is nothing, which is good, because we want to get rid of that. And 47 take away 7 is 40. Alright, let's put our solving lines in. And we're going to divide by 8 both sides. So we get x equals 5. And we're going to substitute that value into one of the equations. I'm going to pick this top one. So instead of 3x, we're doing 3 times 5 plus 4y equals 47. Get my solving lines in. So that will be 15 plus 4y equals 47. And then we're going to take away the 15 both sides. And so it's 4y equals 47 take away 15, which is 32. Divide by 4 both sides, and we get y equals 8. Now we can check that using this equation here. So 5 times 5 is 25. Take away 4 times 8, which is 32, is minus 7. So we know we've got it right. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first, and then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be minus 4, and 11 take away 14 is minus 3. Then I go pick a point on my shape, and the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a -3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. There are a few different ways you could answer this question. I'm going to do it with a tree diagram, but you didn't need to draw a tree diagram to answer this question. So we've got our first tree, which is our first bus. And the choices are male and female. And we've got our second kind of branch, I suppose. And it's still male and female. And this is our second bus. So the property of male on a first bus is 9/15. And therefore the property of female is 1 minus 9/15, which would be 6/15. Male on the second bus is 7/15. And so female would be 8/15 because they need to add up to 1. And it's independent, so these will be the same. And the question is basically asking what is the probability that both will be female. So to have both female, we need to have gone down this line at the start and then this line again. Okay, so looking at the fractions along the way, it's 6/15 and 8/15. The word "and" in probability means times. So whenever you're finding the probability of getting to an outcome, so this outcome would be FF, because they're both female, you are multiplying the fractions that you go across. So it would be 6/15 times 8/15. So 6 times 8 is 48. And times the bottoms, 15 times 15 is 225. Now you can actually cancel that down. So what you can do is you can divide top and bottom by 4. And that will give you 16. Is it 4? No. You can times top and bottom by 3. And that would be 16/75. So either 48/225 or 16/75. There's a lot going on with this question, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in all of the time signs that we don't normally show. So we've got 10 times 12x times y to the power 4 times 13 times x to the power 4 times y to the power 4. And I'm going to reorder these to put the numbers together, first of all. And with multiplying, it doesn't matter which way around you do it. So I'm not changing anything. I'm going to put the x's together. And I'm going to put the y's together. So first thing to do is 9 times 13, which is just 117. Then we've got x to the power of 12 times x to the power 4. Now we know when we multiply two powers of the same base, and the base is x on both of those, we just add the powers. So it's 12 plus 4, which is 16. So it'll be x to the power of 16. And then y to the power 4 times y to the power 4, we just add them together, so it's y to the power of 8. To find the resultant vector, we just get the two vectors and we add the tops and add the bottoms. And it's a plus minus 13, so it's 9 take away 13. When we do that, we get 13 at the top and minus 4 at the bottom. So to find the probability of A and B, which is what that sign means, we're going to work out the amount of people, or the amount in A and B, and we're going to put that over the total amount. So A and B means it's the overlap. So that's going to be 7. And the total amount is all of the numbers added together, which will be 23. So our answer is that the probability of picking A and B is 7/23. When drawing a quadratic or a cubic or reciprocal graph, you've got to make sure that you find as many coordinates as you can with curves. With a linear graph, the minimum you need is 2, and we normally take 3 coordinates. With a curve, we need loads. So I'm going to pick loads of x coordinates. So I'm just going to pick all of the integers. Lots and lots. And I'm going to find out what the y coordinate is. So for the first one, I'm going to put in, on my calculator, a quarter times brackets -4, close brackets, +4, and all of that in brackets. Then I'm going to do the second bracket. So I'm going to put bracket -4, close bracket, -1, close bracket. And then bracket -4, close bracket, take away 4, close bracket. Okay? So I'm just going to put in bracket -4 each time you see an x here. When you do that, you get the answer of 0, which makes sense because -4 plus 4 is 0, and whenever you times something by 0, it will get to 0. Then I'm going to do the same with -3, and I get 7. Same with -2, I get 9. Same with -1, I get 7.5. Same with 0, I get 4, and 0, then -3, then -3.5, and at 4 I get 0, then 9, and then 25. Now that last one, the 25, is not really that helpful because the axis only goes up to 16. So the next thing is I'm going to plot them. So -4 is at 0, so that will be here. -3 is at 7, so that's going to be halfway here. Then we're at 9, which will be halfway here. 7.5 is a bit more interesting because it's halfway between 7 and 8. So it would be about here. Then 4. Then 0. So it looks like it's going to go down now, but it's going to go down for a little bit, like down here where it's -3, and even further down here where it's -3.5. But then it starts going up again. So 0, and then 9, and then we're off. We're off the top. So the next thing we need to do is join that. Now it's sometimes easier if you turn the page sideways. Depends on the curve. I can't turn this sideways, so mine's hopefully gonna look okay. And it's one continuous curve going through all the points. And so we're going to try our best here. And it's not easy for me because I can't quite see the points. You shouldn't take your pencil off at all. Just I have to because my hand gets in the way. And then we know it shoots up from here. Now, that doesn't look the best curve in the world, but as an examiner, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the fact that it goes through all the points, which it does. I'm looking at the fact that there's no obvious gaps, which there isn't. It stops here, but it goes off the top of the graph here, so that's fine. I'm looking for no feathering, which is where you do kind of that with the pencil. No, there's no feathering there. There's a little bit of a wavy bit there, but I think a lot of students get worried that they're going to lose marks unless it's perfect and they start rubbing it out. Like if you've missed a coordinate and you've kind of gone around something, then yeah, maybe rub it out. Or if you've got feathering, or if it just goes, if you knock your hand and it goes off or whatever. But unless it's awful, unless it's not going to get the marks, just leave it. If it's a bit wavy, if it's a bit weird round here, and I think, you know, it's not perfect around this bit either, don't worry about it, leave it, it'll still get the marks. Yes, this one doesn't quite go through the coordinate, but it's close enough. And I think that students often, when I'm marking, I see that they've rubbed it out several times, and where I can see it still there, it was fine. It was going to get the marks regardless, and so it's wasted time, and it just makes it look a bit messier. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So we've got a right angled triangle here, and we've got two lengths and an angle involved in the question. So we are going to be using trigonometry. And the first thing to do with trigonometry is label the sides. So the one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, the one opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now notice that hypotenuse doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so we're going to cross that out, we're not interested in that. And we're now going to just draw our triangles, our SOHCAHTOA triangles, so it would be SOHCAHTOA. And we've crossed out the H, so it's not going to be SO or CA, it's going to be TOA, because TOA is the only one without an H. So it's going to be tan the angle equals the opposite over adjacent. So the angle is 48, so tan 48 equals the opposite, which is x, over 2.3. And we're going to put our lines in. And notice here we just need to times by 2.3 both sides to get x on its own. Now be careful when you type in tan 48, most calculators will open a bracket after typing in the tan, so make sure you close it after the 48, then type in times 2.3, and we get 2.554 blah blah blah. And so when we round that to two decimal places, that would be 2.55. Acceleration is change in velocity over change in time. So change in velocity where it starts at 0 and goes up to 150. So that would be 150 over the change in times. Well, the time starts at 0 and goes up to 5, so that's 5. And so 150 divided by 5 is 30. The velocity is in meters per second, the time is in seconds, so the units will be meters per second squared. So it's 30 meters per second squared. To work out the area of this sector, there is actually a nice little formula that we can use, and I'm just going to show you what the formula means. So the formula is going to be what fraction of the full circle do we have. Okay, so we're going to find out the fraction of the full circle we have, and then we're going to times that by the area of the circle. So to work out the fraction of the circle we have, we get the angle that we have in the sector, and we divide that by the total amount of angles in a circle, which is 360. Then we times that by the area of a circle, so pi r squared. Let's use that for our question. So the angle we have for this question is 57. Times pi r. Now, to work out what r is, we just imagine the circle is whole. I'll do a badly drawn circle. And you can see here that this length here, this 5 centimeters, is the distance between the center of the circle and the circumference. So that is a radius. So it's going to be times 5 squared. Put that into your calculator and you'll get 12.435 blah blah blah, and it says it wants it to two decimal places, so we round that to 12.44 centimeters squared. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.